Hello, lovely.
How are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm doing that thing, where you just sort of lose weeks at a time
Yeah.
because of disability stuff, and then you go, and then you have a list of things to catch up on, and then you just procrastinate. That is where I'm at.
Oh God, I can so relate to that. Like, it gets so overwhelming, doesn't it, that you just think, do I even bother?
Do I look at the last 3 days worth of emails or the last 4 weeks?
Yeah.
Who's got back in touch that I really randomly properly ignored? Yeah, I know. So, I'm tired just getting dressed. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That sort of thing. But no, I'm doing okay. I always forget that January, February aren't very well months
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
And I think
Same.
that, yeah, me and my mate Lisa always used to go, why I always feel really dreadful. Why do we feel so bad? And then after a while, we sort of go, do we normally say that this time of year? And it's like, yes,
Oh my
yes.
God, that's so true. Like, I always think, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do things? And like,
January,
summer,
February.
you do everything, don't you? And you're like,
Yeah,
life is
exactly.
amazing.
I'm very seasonal. I'm just not accepting I'm a seasonal person.
But like, with that, is it something that you talk about, or do you just kind of deal with it on your own?
I think it's something in more recent year, maybe this year.
Yeah.
I've actually gone, oh, I can't do January and February. And I
No.
think maybe next year I'll go, I'm not going to book anything in January and February other than actual work I have to do. But no, I think with disability, it takes you a while to realize it. And then it depends on who you talk to. And then it also, I think then you need a little bit of a leap of confidence to then start going, this is fact. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's a development time of it. And I think also because we're all more talking about it, that's more of a confidence thing as well. Do you know what I mean? Probably 15 years ago, I wouldn't have talked like that.
Yeah. I reckon COVID helped in a way because not that a pandemic, we don't want a pandemic, but since that's happened, I don't know, I feel like everyone's talking about energy levels a bit more. People are realizing that since being inside for a long time and then going out is a big deal. Like, I
Yes,
don't
yeah.
know, I'm not saying that everyone's suddenly hashtag ally, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
because
don't
it
know.
depends. Will they remember for a while? That's the thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because yes, because I did you have a lot of that? Oh, I know what it's like for you now.
yeah. Dear Maureen, dear.
You've just sat in and watched telly. That's not the same thing.
Oh God. I mean, I had so many people that were like, oh God, I don't know how you do it. I couldn't do it if I were you. And you're like, yeah, yeah,
But you would, and you wouldn't be saying that because you'd have got
no,
over it.
yeah.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's that I think that's one of my favorite and least favorite at the same time. I don't know, in the pity thing it just makes me giggle now.
I mean, if it depends if I'm hormonal.
Oh.
It depends. It depends if I'm hungry. Like, if Barry's gonna, pity me when I'm on my way to having food, then bless him.
He's picked the
Bless
wrong
him.
time.
Yeah.
That I would like to see.
Oh God, I've been called a chihuahua because I'm very patient, but if I'm not in the great mood, I'll just snap, like it comes out of nowhere. But it's just because it's built up over time. Like I
Uh,
can't help it. It's just like someone I get mistaken for Sam, lovely Sam Rank all the time, and sometimes I'm just not in the mood to be mistaken for another
no.
blonde person in a wheelchair. And I'll just turn around and go, "It's not me!"
I got congratulated for my job on Doctor Who.
Wow.
Brown hair, wheelchair.
Yeah. Do you know what though? I was gonna say take it, but no. It you've got your own stuff that you've achieved. You don't need
No,
someone
I've
else's.
got another friend who's blonde who's got a different disability, and I remember for years she kept getting mistaken for somebody else off the telly, and it's just relentless because the thing is, it's nothing. Because also, what's caught up in it is an insult of we all look the same,
Yeah,
or they've not thought past disability that far that they really haven't even bothered thinking about us. They've just gone blonde wheels, haven't they?
exactly. And I find that hard to explain because Like, I don't want to come across that I'm embarrassed to be someone else, but you're not looking at me as a person, you're looking at and then I'm saying, well, I'm proud of my disability, of course I am, but there's a whole other different side to me that you've just not seen in that 1 second, which it's hard, isn't it, to explain?
Well, yeah, because it's that thing of you know that if they're looking at you in that way, it's going to take quite a bit to actually break through those barriers of them for
Yeah,
them to see you as a human being and for you and all. And that's what's tiring, actually. That I was just doing a bit of work writing a play at the moment with my friend, and that's what we're kind of trying to look at the crux of it, because it is the fact that people honestly think less of us,
yeah,
or and that's really, and then so it's our responsibility to be funny, entertaining, intelligent, quirky, all those other things, to break through that, get them to like us, feel comfortable with us, and then we can have a relationship. But by then I don't want to have a relationship with you.
yeah, yeah. I'm not bothered, to be
I'm
honest.
out.
Yeah, I'm already out. I'm across the road.
Yeah, I'm probably with you, we're gone somewhere.
Yeah.
We're on an adventure, we're days away.
Oh God, I would love that. Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Like, do you? I've just turned 30 last year, so we're in the 30s now. And it's taken a lot of time for me to realise how much I care about other people's opinion of me, and hence the name First Impressions. And I'm really trying to tell myself, don't care what other people think. But I'm kind of like halfway there now. Like, I know it's ridiculous, but also I do get a buzz when someone sees me as me. So,
Mm.
how do you feel about people perceiving you like that?
It's because because I have something, because I love watching what you do on Instagram and stuff because of those reactions, and I do like your answering to Maureen and all those things, and I know, and the thing is, what you're having to do is take it on the chin for a lot of us to
Yeah,
make that, and that's what I think anybody who's been an advocate, you have to take it on the chin, and that knocks you down a little bit while you're trying to make the change, isn't it? So I kind of enjoy you being struggles though.
yeah. I like
I'm
that.
saying to change the world because I do want the world to change, but it will take away a bit of entertainment for me.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but you could probably be entertaining in a different way. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't matter. But yeah, can you ask me my question again? Sorry.
No, that but basically, do you care about the things that I've said about people making those first impressions of you, or have you got to a point in your life now where you're like, do you know what? You think what you need to think. I'm an actress. I've got my shit together.
I think both, because on a personal, because the thing is, it's not the same as what other people get.
Yeah,
Where people, because it's something that's nothing about you, so it does sort of knock you in the tummy,
yeah,
even if you fully intend it not to, and you can be fine and breezy and it's all okay, da, da, da. And actually, yeah, fuck 'em, but you do clock it, even if you breathe it, got over it, it still causes a little knock because it's not based in anything that you can do anything about. And it's funny though, because I actually do enjoy people being a bit of a dick about it, because it does make me giggle. People being uncomfortable around me, it does really make me giggle, and it used to make me upset. And I think I chose to find it funny, and now I actually really do find it funny, because and sometimes I won't help them out either.
yeah,
I
yeah,
leave them struggling, but then also it is. I mean, I think it's really good because it's a fast-tracked way of knowing who you're never going to connect with.
yeah,
Um, but then also I suppose if it happens ever so often, it's fine. If it happens a lot, and it just depends what you're doing with your life. Like at the moment, I've been poorly, so I've not been out a lot. If I'd been out and about, I'd probably be a bit more depressed about it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The tolerance definitely
Yeah,
changes, doesn't it?
yeah. Your interaction levels of people you love and then people you when you're going out into the world. But then we need to do all that. Annoyingly, we're doing it for the generation after us that don't, the same as the generation before us, got us out in the world, got us on buses, got us,
Yeah.
you know, living in houses, all that sort of stuff. But
Oh, yeah, that's sweet.
we are doing it. I want my nephew's a wheelchair user, and I don't want him to have the shit that we've gone through.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
know, I want it to change and I want people to be seen as equal. I'm not sure. I mean, they've taken away our disabled minister, which is a terrifying. I mean, I'm not even. Yeah, I just think that's a terrifying judgment of us, and all the other political things that they're doing to us. I think are abhorrent, and I think the more we're on TV, the more that we will be seen as humans and funny, and the same with social media. The fact that people can go, oh, actually, I really enjoy you. You make me laugh, da, da, da. And then they've actually got over it before they've realised they've got over it, and it actually means nothing, and they want to talk to you as a human being. But it's just ridiculous that we're in a situation where we don't get talked to as normal people, as people.
Yeah. Yeah, it is wild. I say to people like, obviously I do like consulting and public speaking and everything, and I say it feels like I'm a saleswoman for disability. Like I'm almost being like, we're all right. We're just living life, and sometimes I think, God, this is my job is to basically say, smile and say hello. Like you're paying me to tell you to
I'm
smile.
all right.
Like I'm getting hundreds of pounds right now, so it's a bit of a mind blow, really, isn't
Yeah,
it?
you're paying me to make me feel, for me to help you feel better about talking to me.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and it's that, yeah, but the thing is, it's weird because once you know access and all those things, it's so simplistic and it's so easy, and
yeah.
yet people see it as this massive minefield.
Oh God, I mean, yeah, you do get lucky with some people who want to do the best and want to try, but yeah, there's many people who are just not there yet, are there?
No, or we're trying but say it really clankingly wrong. And then you go in your mind, how do I say this to make you still feel all right about it, but point out that that's not what you can say or do? But I don't want, because also the thing is, if you make somebody feel like they got it wrong, they
Yeah,
then get defensive.
yeah,
And you're like, hang on, you've asked me to help you with this.
yeah. Yeah. Do you find I'm not gonna get you to spread any gossip or anything, but with the kind of some of the events that I've done, I've found that the people that you would expect to know what to say and what to do actually they
Mm,
don't. And I think they're the ones for me that catch me off guard the most. And I'm like, ooh, and I kind of
yeah.
love those moments because I'm just like, oh, we're all definitely learning here.
Yes, yeah. I think everybody, because neither of us are going to know everything about access. Do you mean it's not? It's just
Yeah.
that you can know a blueprint of how to approach things. But yeah, it is surprising the person. Yeah, quite often, like talks of things, people who've booked you, and I think it's a sense of feeling like they're doing something well,
Yeah.
but they actually haven't dug into it that much themselves. But I think as long as people are open and willing to learn,
Oh yeah, definitely. I'd much rather like even being invited to somewhere, even if it's not the best, the fact that they want you in that room is definitely the first
yes.
step, ironically, to, you know,
It's funny because I definitely am from the generation of, because I'm older, and I'm definitely of the generation who's so grateful to be allowed in the room
yeah,
because we weren't. Do you know
yeah,
what I mean? And I think the generation that's coming up expect to be in the room, which is brilliant.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's so true actually. Speaking of generations, can we go back to the beginning a little bit?
You can.
I don't want to ask you the same old thing, but I've got to ask because I think it's good to get to know you. But did you always want to be an actress?
I
Is my
did.
question.
I did from at the age of 6 when I went to see the film Annie, and then I got the sticker book.
Yeah,
And I mean, I didn't become a wheelchair user until I was 24. I probably should have been by the time I was 18. But pain always kicked in all the way through, pretty much. I think from back the age of 11, but I was always dislocating, but not realizing I was dislocating and stuff. So I could never do the things I thought I could do well, like dancing.
yeah,
I was always better in my head than it was in practical form. But yeah, always wanted to. I always stood up at front of form class and did probably really annoying little drama bites and stuff. I went to youth theatre. I'd always write in to the radio and send in bits. I did a hospital radio show as well. Yeah, I was always doing something.
Oh, that's sweet. I love that you wanted to do that since you were young. And like, did you ever think about barrier? Obviously, you just said about pain and dancing. Was that in the forefront of your mind, or did anyone say, "Look, this is going to be a bit tough"?
It was my disability. It kicked in at the age of 11 and I got diagnosed at 24. So in my teens, I was told that the pain was in my head. And things like my parents believed the doctors, and they said things like if she's doing a voice as though she can't speak because of pain and she can't get downstairs, don't feed her. So they didn't. So I had the most extreme, weird childhood, as in, and again, that's a generational thing that's different, but walking a mile to school on crutches, all sorts of things. And it was only when I went to, and I knew it was hard. It was really, I got my first acting job at 18 and I'd have to sleep between shows because it was killing me. I was still on my feet then. Then when I went to drama school, I was told I'd be in a wheelchair very soon. And then it all changed.
Right.
People's Even before I got the wheelchair, it all changed. People's attitude towards me changed. The parts I got, I think it was the fight director refused to teach me anymore. Immediately, I was chucked out of a couple of classes. Well, it was in the 90s, so they'd said to me, because you didn't have the right to university education until the year 2000.
Yeah.
So I was at drama school and it was Arden School of Theatre, but it was under Manchester Union. They did say, we will let you come back, but we don't have to. And we are doing you a favour. And
Oh,
they
cheers.
and they were
That's
lovely, but in their minds they were doing me a favour because disabled people had no right to higher education. And then everybody got a mentor except me because they said there are no disabled actors. And then when I left, everybody got jobs and I didn't get a job for about 4 years. And then I knew it was going to be hard.
bloody hell. God. I mean, to have the people that you look up to in power to be like that, I mean, yeah, I don't want to focus on negativity, but yeah, that must have been tough.
It was tough because I think they were doing me a favour in that context. You know what I mean? There were no
Yeah.
disabled, and also I was living in a very non-disabled world then, and I had a lot of non-disabled opinions about disability, I suppose. So I thought I was less. I thought I was. I'm probably still. No, I won't say I do anymore, but I think that those thoughts have impacted me a lot in my life because you do take on what the world thinks about you. Um, but what it did do was the same way my parents not believing me was taught me to dig in harder and work, be more determined and go, actually, well, the thing I want to do is this, so this is what I'm going to do. And then I realized to do that, I needed to make some changes. So I set up a theatre company with my friend and we addressed youth theatres. We did audition technique for people. Liz Carr came on one of them. David Ellington came on another. We did week-long audition courses and stuff. And and then I was forever doing jobs that made changes. And then that's when that further along made me set up Triple C for the same reason, was because you have to make a change to be able to do the career you want, and then also you've got to pay back in, drop the ladder down for everybody else behind you as you get in.
Oh, I love that because there are a lot of people out there who have, bad experiences and they don't help people because they say, well, I had to force my way through and bulldoze that door down, and they don't want to help people because of the shit that they went through. So the fact
But
that you turn that into a positive is so lovely.
thank you. But I think I've always thought like that, and also because I think you have a lot more fun with more
Yeah,
people around.
yeah,
You've got a bigger gang.
yeah,
It's much better.
yeah. Especially when you're on your own, like, they said there's no disabled actors, which, you
And
know,
they were all in
yeah,
theatre
yeah,
because it was the 90s and nobody was on telly. Well, Julie Fernandez was on telly,
yeah,
and that was about it. And yeah, it was finding out about how actually we we worked in disabled theatre, and that was a sort of niche area, and loads of people did and still do, but at least now you can cross over. You can cross over into the mainstream, which you couldn't before.
Yeah. Do you think, wait, well, first of all, could you tell us a bit more about Triple C? Because my lovely friend Monique is with you in that gang.
Yes. Mo is one of the co-founders, along with Jed Mulherrin, Lydia Mulherrin, and Melissa Johns. I founded it. It started. Mostly started because I used to do lots of work when I wasn't working as an actor. I used to go and do a lot of drama in schools or in. I used to get you get like a bunch of 30 disabled kids in the Easter holidays, and it was such fun. And me and my friend Gosh, she'd often do videos and I'd do the drama, or I'd just end up doing drama on my own. And then sometimes you go, where are half the kids gone? And they go, they'll be taken to Lourdes to heal them.
Oh.
Like, they were getting much more here. They were getting much more confident. They were having much more fun. And then they come back and they weren't cured. But
Yeah.
and actually, weirdly, Mo was one of those young people.
No way.
That's where I
Oh.
first met Mo. Yeah, and it was interesting because she said she'd never seen anybody get out their wheelchair before. And I think she was about 13. And then years later, I was working at Corrie, and this girl got in touch to say she didn't die, but she was told she would have 6 months to live because they refused to operate on her back because she was disabled. She eventually got somebody who would do the operation, so she was fine. But she just wanted to thank me for those drama classes. She said it made her live a life very differently, her confidence, etc., etc. So I was driving to work the next day and I thought, we could do that for more people.
Yeah.
Got in touch with Mo because she was one of the young people I knew wanted to go into the arts. And Mo's amazing. I mean, Mo amazingly helped set it up. Then she ran the digital team, and now she's a full-time dancer, isn't she?
Yeah.
Amongst other things.
Smashing it.
Smashing it everywhere, dancing for Facebook advert, isn't she?
Every
Did
time I turn telly on, I go, oh my God, she's on telly
Mo.
again.
Mo's on an advert, Mo's doing
Yeah,
yeah.
LNER, you name it.
One of the first women on the front cover at Grazia. That's one I always quote as well. But and yeah, so wanted to set up a youth theatre, but then also at the same time I wanted to do the stuff I've been doing with my other theatre company, which was make changes for audition technique and things like that. And a brilliant group of us worked through and had this idea of DANC, which is the Disabled Artists Network community, had this idea of bringing the community together because everybody always goes, where are they? Don't know where to find them. And it's like, we're here. So let us, if we all come together, we're here. So I got some funding for that. And then me, Jed, Melissa, and Mo spent a day brainstorming and talking it through and collating what we thought this was going to be. And we always said it'd be responsive to what people did and gave. And we built it. We had the first one at home theatre in Manchester, and we didn't know how many people were going to come because they signed up through Homes Ticketing, and then 68 people came from all over the country, and somebody flew from Spain, and we're like, oh my God. And the principle was to find out what the blocks were, have conversations about what the blocks were in the industry, between the industry and the deaf, disabled, neurodivergent creative, and then come up with the solutions together. So it wasn't doing something for us, which has always been the case before. And I think we ran 11 before COVID, and the last one was at ITV London, and it had about 117 DDN creatives and 17 industry guests. And now the team's partnered with Triple C's partnered with BBC this year, and they're doing a tour of different danks. So I think there's one in Manchester at the end of March. So yeah, and Triple C and now I think there's about 1,900 deaf, disabled, neurodivergent creatives in that community. And it sort of developed. So like over lockdown, we immediately went online, and I mean, Melissa, I worked the first couple of years using my PA, my support worker, not very much as a support worker, but mostly driving me around and doing lots of admin with me to set it up. And then we got some funding, and then Melissa came on board to take over that job ideally, and then I ended up doing it as well because there was just so much work to do. And then yeah, it's just, and it really thrived. I'd say it thrived. Everybody did make it thrive in different ways. Like when Melissa came on board, it was two disabled actors knowing the industry, knowing who to talk to, and it's just really. So as soon as COVID happened, we went online, and then we started doing webinars and masterclasses. I think we've done about 400-500 webinars and masterclasses now.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
great for people getting to know who people are, getting to network, getting to find out where they want to be. And I think we've done 4 lots of mentoring, partnered with Screen Skills, partnered with Channel 4, partnered with loads of different people. I'm taking a bit of time off for health at the moment, but the team's fabulous. Everybody's doing so well. And we also run a youth theatre and a community group once a week as well. So it's that thing of, Melissa calls it the Swiss roll effect. It's the 360 approach. So you're making sure the professional strand's making a change.
Yeah.
So then, but also ensuring the next generation coming up, that's making a change. It's making a change for people who are socially isolated because of disability. And it's that thing of, it's a really good network. And on a Friday, there's a newsletter with all the jobs, and people know to advertise the jobs through us now. And it just means more and more people are working, which then makes a difference. The more characters there are on television, the more people are seen, the more then our stories are told, then we're not seen as othering and all that sort of stuff. So, and it's changing, it's slowly changing, but it is changing.
That's amazing. Isn't that like, God, the fact that you just told me when you were young, you were literally on your own, and now you've got hundreds and thousands of
Yeah,
people
yeah.
together. That's, give yourself a pat on the back.
Thank you very
I know
much.
what, I know it's a team effort,
It was
but
a definite team effort. It was a definite massive team effort. And the team's big now. I think the team's 12, 13 people working there now. And
yeah,
they're all great. They all do so much. And it's that everybody's got a passion to make that change. And
yeah,
that's why it's really important.
yeah. So that kind of resilience in a way, that I think all disabled people can relate to that. Those little chip-ins of comments and barriers, even though it is horrific, anyone listening that is going through that, you will use that at some point as your fire, I
Yes,
guess, is the message.
definitely. I know. So it's that thing of going, find your community, find your mates who are going through the same thing as you, because then you're not alone, and then you're not fighting. It doesn't stop being a battle you're fighting. It becomes a conversation you can have, and that makes a massive change, I think.
Boom. I'm gonna put uh fireworks after that sentence. That's sick. Clip that one. I won't take you for too much longer because I just appreciate you having this chat with me, but
Really?
I've got to ask the Corrie questions.
You
I'm
can.
I'm so sorry to be that person, but look, you're on a bloody national treasure soap. I've been watching it since I was like 2. I reckon I was laying on the floor. My parents would have it on every night. My grandma would record that and Emmerdale on 2 different recorders. One in the
Ah.
kitchen, one in the living room. It was a military operation, so the fact that I'm talking to you today is
Oh my God.
big.
So you'll remember when a wheelchair user came in.
Yes. Yeah. It was
Wow.
like it was so overwhelmingly amazing to see that representation. Not only, on a TV program, but the program that I'd watched for
Yeah.
years. So yeah, it's a big day for me.
Ah, it was a big day for me too.
I bet it was. So like, first question, those cobble I went on a tour of the street. Those cobbles did not do my back any good. Tell me the situation. Are they as bumpy as it felt?
The first couple of years, they got these sponge tracks,
Right.
sponge pads. It was a bit like Wallace and Gromit that they used to
Right.
get across the cobbles, and they'd have like 6 of them. And people would run from the one at the back, put in front. So I'd have like a rolling road that went like
Yeah.
that as they cross. And they even did that in shots sometimes. And then over the years, we've now got an entirely wheelchair cobble-free, accessible route all the way around the round.
Oh, thank God.
Even in front of the factory, they've got rid of some of the cobbles and cemented it. And I remember when they got rid of the step at Roy's Rolls, Ginge in props and design, we cut a ribbon. Me and him had a little own ceremony on the street.
Yeah, I
And like when
love
the
that.
tram crash happened, they got rid of the steps there as well. They've just made everything wheelchair accessible.
Oh, thank God for that. Yeah, because when I went, I was just thinking of you, and I was like,
It
how does
hurts
she
too
do it?
much. I have to go out. So, say if we're filming at Roy's Rolls, I come in underneath the bridge arch down the side of the Rovers, but then if we're stepping off, sometimes we step off and there's a green room behind the cabin. I then have to run all the way around the back of the thing, and then Dave Security opens up an arch there behind Kevin's garage, and I come through Kevin's garage and go in that way.
Oh, secrets behind the scenes. Love
Yeah.
that. Well, I'm pleased about that. That was my number one question. And second is that I love how disability is kind of woven into the stories, but it's not like disability and that's it.
Yes.
So is that something that you brought to the table, or is that something that the writers just kind of dealt with themselves?
I think it's interesting because I think it goes back to our initial conversation because after I'm in my 15th year now, which is a bit
Wow.
mind blowing. I know. Um, I think everybody's got over it by
Right.
miles. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? So it's not a thing. So it's not a conversation. So therefore that, but I think that happened quite quickly from because they also earlier on. I mean, we used to social, we still socialize, but the socials and things means that people meet. You know, the actors meet the writers, and those things happen. So that's over. And early on, they had a thing where I could feed back
Yeah.
if say something was written, it was like that's definitely a non-disabled person saying that. That's
Yeah.
not what a disabled person would say. Is then I go back to them and they go, "What's the rule underneath that so we can learn for next time?" So it wasn't just a feedback thing. It was, so and I think that's really and it's really a bit like like because they did Izzy. I had to shield, so Izzy had to shield, but then I mean, that was like, I hate the term reasonable adjustments because I think it suggests we can be unreasonable, so that's bollocks. But access requirements
Yeah.
was that, to make those access requirements that I actually filmed my TV job at home was for not, but annoyingly I got ill, so then I couldn't do it, didn't do as much as we had planned. But they really reflect, they noticed how COVID impacted on me. So then they brought that into Izzy. So they do notice
Yeah.
and observe as well as, and like I'm in pain, so she's in pain. So when I got the job, she was going to be somebody who'd had a car accident, but it was only a 6 month job when I first got the job, because we get renewed each year. And I said, look, I don't think I can act somebody else's access on top of my own access for
Yeah.
6 months. So they just made her have my disability, which was the easiest solution.
Mm.
And then that's really helped because then the stories can come, the stories I can identify with as well, which has been really useful. But in, I think, probably 3 years now, we've had David Proud as well, who's a wheelchair user, who's on the writing team.
Okay.
So that's definitely had an impact. And I think I think they're over not as in they're over, they get it and it's understood and it's not, so that's why it becomes part of the story, but not all the story,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they talk about the character traits of Izzy, and disability is not one of those character traits. Whereas quite a lot of my jobs in the past, disability was often seen as a character trait. You see what I mean? Which it's not. It's a given circumstance.
Even seeing like Izzy with a partner,
Mm,
like that was such a big deal for me as a teenager who was like, oh, maybe I could get a partner as well. Like it is informative as much as it's entertainment. I think
yes.
there are those messages, aren't there, woven in as well.
Yeah, because the industry, the television is normally used to do the wrong narrative, used to imply that we couldn't, or we never saw it, so therefore we thought we could, and it's that's why it's so important to have lived experience representation, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And what one of my last questions is, when people are like, oh, it don't matter if a non-disabled person plays a disabled person, I feel like you're a good person to ask this question. What do you think the right answer is in that situation?
I think they shouldn't, because I think somebody with lived experience who's lived, it doesn't have to be the same lived experience, it has to be a relevant lived experience,
Yeah,
brings something very different. Say if somebody played my character who was non-disabled, the non-disabled world at the moment currently view disability as quite tragic and would, so their given circumstance, they would play underneath that. They could have the same lines as I had, but they would probably play it as they're quite sad about their own situation. It's quite tragedy. Da, 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 da. Whereas a disabled person would be playing it upbeat, lively, funny, etc., etc. So it's that thing that at the moment the non-disabled world has an opinion about disability which isn't the correct one, and they will bring that with them to play the roles, because you see it. You see somebody who's playing it and they play the tragedy, they play, oh, they can't drive wheelchairs for a start, or if they play somebody who has a learning disability, it's a terrible, awful, makes my spine curl
yeah,
impression of somebody that's not based in any truth or any, is not weighted anywhere in the body. It's just, and that's why I don't think they can, because they're playing caricatures that we've got from history, and they're playing back the caricatures that were played to them on screen, and that's not who we are as disabled people. And that's why it's so imperative to get that representation, because as soon as you have somebody with the correct lived experience playing those characters, you see a different person.
yeah,
You don't see all those tropes, and that again goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, is that people would see you as those things. It's reiterated even more when somebody plays a character just for those things that they think are elements of you that actually aren't. I love my wheelchair. I look, quite happy being disabled. Don't like the pain, but I don't take my disability off me. I wouldn't know who I was.
yeah,
It's part of my identity in a positive way. It's taught me a lot of patience. It's taught me a lot. It's given me experiences I'd never had, conversations that I never had, insights, wisdom, so many different things that it fast tracks you through that are really good and positives. And none of those are normally played by a non-disabled person playing a disabled person they normally play. Even if the lines are saying totally different, it's what they're playing underneath. And that, with an actor, you're not just saying the lines, you're bringing a truth or a thought between each one, and where that line comes from is from an impulse of a thought or a feeling. And if those thoughts or feelings are based in the negative, it gives a totally different depiction.
yeah. Oh my God, I'm so gonna clip that. And every time someone asks me that question, I'm gonna be like, just watch this, please. Thank you. But it's talked about so much in it, and it's always the non-disabled person that gets the loudest voice in that situation, unless it's
Yeah,
Twitter, and I feel like disabled
yeah,
people get it.
totally. Yeah, that we're getting there. But the thing
Yeah,
is, we have to keep having these conversations. I mean, but the thing is that with conversations not moving on, and it's tedious now. Come
yeah,
on, come on, world, catch up. I remember Melissa Johns went on BBC Breakfast News years ago, and this woman went, "Well, so should Paddington be played by a bear?" And it's like, that's yeah,
yeah,
all everything that says is just ignorance.
yeah.
And yeah, because we don't black up anymore, so why should we crip up?
Yes. And that just tells me that that person doesn't want to do anything positive or progressive. She's stuck in that.
Well, that's the thing. You know which other things would in our world would be offensive that have been, that people have done in the past. So the thing is, move on. Let's catch up now, because the thing is, until because we're only just getting a voice, our community, annoyingly,
Yeah,
which is terrifying. It's 2024. How can we only just, we haven't got a voice that's been listened to properly yet?
no. No, we've gotta be where we can when we
Yeah,
can.
keep doing what you're doing. That's what, yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I always
Pleasure.
ask at the end, what have you got anything else on the bucket list? Like you've pretty much smashed a lot, but yeah, is there a goal? Is there a dream? Or are you quite content?
I'm very content. Um, I have a few things on my bucket list, actually. Yes.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm about to start learning. Well, I'm trying to keep learning to edit, and it's not doing. I'm learning. I'm playing around making short films with my friend Nikki Wilding. I want to play with that sort of stuff. Yeah, and I'm also at the point where I'm going, okay, what do I want to do next? That's the fun bit of looking. Learning to water houseplants is going up on my list, which I'm getting better at.
Wow,
Yeah,
it does look
that's
beautiful.
that's one of my achievements so far. Yeah, there's a few that haven't died.
Oh, nice.
They've
I
normally
can't keep
been about
plants.
3 months and they've normally died by now, so I'm doing very well.
Proud. I mean, look, you're a multitasker, multi-skilled.
Well, just don't overwater is what I've learnt. Don't be enthusiastic with them. That's what I was doing wrong.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's basically drowning them.
Yeah, I was drowning them. I'm better at neglect, I've discovered.
What a way to end it. Thank you so much. I hope you have a lovely rest of the day.